Now, Israel has sent troops into Al-Shifa hospital, the complex in Gaza, that it accuses Hamas of using as a command centre. Joining us now for more is Eylon Levy, who is Israeli government spokesman. Eylon, good morning. Thank you for being with us.
Good morning.
Good morning. Can you please update us on the military situation inside the medical complex at Shifa? How long will that operation go on for?
Well, Israeli forces have gone into that hospital above the Shifa terror compound. This is, of course, the hospital in whose basement Hamas has built its main headquarters. By the way, this isn't something we're claiming. The European Union put out a very firm condemnation 2 days ago of Hamas's use of hospitals as human shields. And the United States has also said it has seen evidence that Hamas operates from the basement of that hospital. So we've gone in. This morning, we delivered baby food, incubators, and other humanitarian aid to the patients. You'll remember a few days ago, Israel delivered 300 liters of fuel to the hospital for use in its generators, and Hamas stopped the doctors from accessing it. So now we've actually sent specially trained Israeli medical teams and Arabic-speaking soldiers inside the hospital with that aid to make sure that the civilians receive it. And of course, we continue to reaffirm our call for people to evacuate the hospital and move south. We know that it's dangerous. We know that it's difficult, but we want to get civilians out of harm's way. We don't want them to be caught in a war zone, and we don't want Hamas to try to use them as human shields to shield its terror targets in the basement.
What are the patients in that hospital accepting that treatment that's being offered by your soldiers as you described?
This is an update from just the last few minutes that we're going into the hospital and we're delivering that aid.
In terms of the idea that that this particular hospital complex is currently being used as a base, what have you found? Have you found any weapons to support the claim that Hamas is operating there?
Well, first of all, as soon as the soldiers arrived, they came under attack and ambushed by Hamas forces. We know that they're located inside the hospital, just as they're located in other hospitals. We entered the basement of the Rantisi Hospital, a children's hospital, and found one of the motorbikes that appears to have been used in the October 7th massacre, as well as other weapons. Just yesterday, Israeli forces were fired at by terrorists at the Al-Quds hospital. They were embedded among civilians at the entrance of the hospital. They shot at our soldiers and then they retreated back inside the hospital. This isn't something new, that Hamas has a long and documented history of using hospitals as human shields. As I said, the European Union has condemned that very firmly. And we have been calling on Hamas to surrender and come out with a white flag. We don't want anyone to be hurt. Hospitals must be protected. They must never be used by terrorist organizations or any armed forces as bases for operations.
Is that realistic for the people who are in that complex now? Can they safely actually exit that complex, given the fighting and the troops that are in that area at the moment?
Israel has been supporting evacuation efforts, and we will continue to do that. We want to get
How many
civilians
people have
out of
been
harm's way.
evacuated from that hospital complex as you've been supporting those efforts?
The hospital specifically, I can't say. What I can tell you is that since Israel completed the encirclement of Gaza City, we've been operating a daily humanitarian corridor for people to move south. Over 250,000 people have taken advantage of that humanitarian corridor. And Israeli soldiers have actually been attacked by Hamas forces with RPGs as they stand there securing the safe passage for people to get out of the areas where Hamas has embedded itself under those schools, under those homes, under those hospitals, and under those mosques.
Can you update us then, aside from what's happening in the hospital, with the situation on hostage negotiations currently? This is a moving situation that changes daily. What is the latest on negotiations over Hamas-held hostages?
Israeli society is, of course, worried sick for the fate of the 240 hostages who've been in Gaza for 40 days now since the October 7th massacre. There are children in there. There are babies. They haven't been given access to the Red Cross. I'm afraid I can't comment on negotiations for their release. You'll understand these are sensitive issues. Human lives are at stake. And when we have information, we will, of course, update.
If the Al-Shifa hospital complex is one of the main Hamas bases in northern Gaza, once that operation is over, does that mean that the Israeli military has accomplished its main aim in Gaza, in your view?
Our main aim in Gaza is to destroy the totality of Hamas's terrorist and governing infrastructure inside the Gaza Strip.
How significant would it be, though, if the base that you claim is under the hospital, at the hospital, in the hospital. How significant would it be if that was something that was dealt with? How significant would it be in terms of the operation?
The Shifa terror compound is, of course, a very important target. It would be a very serious blow to Hamas, but we should be under no illusions that if that is overrun, and of course we show all that evidence to the international media, that the operation will be over, because we cannot allow Hamas to regroup, rebuild and remetastasize across the Gaza Strip in order to pose a threat to our people. The objective of this war in response to the October 7th massacre, when Hamas declared war on us, is to destroy Hamas completely so that it can never again pose a threat to our people. Shifa terror compound is, of course, very important, but it's not the end. And we know that the days ahead are going to be long and they're going to be difficult.
Are you concerned about support from the United States for the military operation fading? We've been reporting about disquiet within the Biden administration with how Israel is conducting this military operation.
Not in the least. Israel and the United States are completely in lockstep on the goals of this operation, which is that Hamas must be defeated. President Biden has been very clear from day one. We have been very grateful to him for his moral, material and diplomatic leadership in saying that Israel has every right and every duty to go after Hamas and destroy that terror group and eliminate that threat. That is the only way we can make sure another October 7th massacre doesn't happen, by eliminating the terror group that is threatening to do it again. The United States knows that. Not only the United States, so do other Arab governments that the United States has been speaking with. We understand they have their own domestic pressures that mean they can't speak openly on the issue, but they understand that the Iranian proxy terrorist group in the Gaza Strip must not be allowed to maintain its territorial control, just as the world banded together nearly a decade ago and defeated and destroyed ISIS so it could no longer control territory from which to launch attacks on the West.
Eylon Levy, thank you for your time this morning. Israeli government spokesman Eylon Levy.